both do have dark vision. What that essentially means is that you can see, but you cannot see color. And because this is total darkness, this isn't magical darkness. This is total darkness in where you can see a certain distance, but it's in black and white. It's where otherwise.
It's like 30 feet. Is it 30 or 60 feet?
I believe.
Dark vision is 60.
I believe it's 60 feet that you're able to see, and your fog of war should reflect that. 5, 10, 15.
Did you edit?
No, it goes actually 30 right now. Let me edit that.
We need to regroup with the rest of the. We gotta find the rest of the group.
Agreed.
And we need to do so quietly because it's just the two of us. If we run into another pack of zombies, we're in trouble.
Ghouls.
Previously the zombies, we didn't do the ghouls. They did.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, they did the ghouls. You guys bamfed. Okay, so as you're kind of stepping forward, you see the hallway going to your left and to your right, both of which have passageways that look to be winding and going different directions. You get the impression that this part of the cave is kind of like a hive or a cluster of different things. To your right, you do see a corridor and a hallway, and a door that leads to the, you're not sure what directions, but for your guys' sake, to the east.
Alright, left to right, we got a door there. I kind of want to go left to see if there's a door over this way or if we're in a closed area. And if nothing else, we can go back to the door we see there. What do you think?
I want to go right.
Or we can go right. Let's go right.
Okay. So as you're kind of going along, you start to notice that the ceiling here is only 6 feet high, whereas other places that you're at were much taller. So these caves are much narrower, much skinnier, much smaller spaces to be in. Upon kind of stepping into the hallway, you look right to the, I'm going to say to the south, but to you it's to the right, and you see nothing. You just see the cavern of stone, finely hewn stone going on for a long while. To the north, it goes and then jogs around the corner.
I mean, I basically eeny, meeny, miny, mo at this point, right?
Pretty much.
Alright, do you choose left or right?
Step in the hallway and see what you can see.
You're gonna make me step in the hallway. There's traps, I tell you.
Eat a tharp, eat a tharp. So you guys stick together. Go ahead and both roll me a stealth check, please. Assuming that you're both moving stealthily.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I am.
Okay. 14. So you're walking. You're not perfectly silent, but you are quiet enough that you know that someone. If someone wasn't within, 10 or 15 feet of you, they probably would not hear your footfall. Both of you, being elven in some form or fashion, are very deft on your feet, very lightweight, and you are able to traverse this passage with as far as you can tell without being noticed.
Alright, I'm gonna go check around this corner up here. It looks like a dead end there. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
It's not a dead end.
Okay, so you go, as you turn the corner, you see another corridor going for a long ways, and 3 more passages going to the north. The first of which you can see immediately is collapsed.
Do you want to go down or further this way?
I mean, if they were gonna hopefully see what you wanted to see in the beginning, so let's just go this way.
Alright, just remember where this door is at. Alright, I'm gonna just quickly...
Hey, do I have, like kind of writing tools with me?
Let me look. If you look at your pack, so if you, on D&D Beyond, it should say in your pack, depending on which one you chose, if it's an explorer's pack or a different type of thing. So if you wanted like a writing implement, that's probably not likely with a ranger, but it's possible. So let's see. Characters, content, campaigns, view, and Aurora.
I think I have an explorer's pack.
I
Okay.
don't think it has any writing utensils.
No, that would be mine.
Yeah,
Mine has all
Okay.
that, right?
looks like hers does, but yours does not.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pick up the rock from this first hallway
Okay.
and mark the wall.
Okay, so you're gonna scratch it on the wall. Okay.
Yeah.
So you find that the at least this portion of the rock, this is all kind of like a granite type thing, but you're able to find some softer stones up here to the north in the collapsed area. You see a couple in the rubble, and you're able to pick one up. And after, it takes a little bit of working to get it in there, but you are able to make an identifiable scratch into the wall. And where did you want that to be?
Clandon, I can start making scratches on the wall to mark where we've been. Should we start where do you think?
Just make marks as we go.
Okay.
Doesn't matter where. So, I can see some stairs to my right here.
Okay.
So it makes a door and a set of stairs now.
Yep.
And it looks like it opens up into a larger room.
Okay, I'm gonna make my first mark right here.
Okay.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and check out the next hallway.
Okay. You continue forward. Clandon, as you kind of peer around the corner, you see again another corridor that goes to the north and jogs. Further down the way, you see a corridor that continues and extends further into the cave. More winding passages. They go further than you can tell, but none of the ones ahead of you seem to be collapsed.
Alright,
That you can tell so far.
keep going.
Okay. So you step forward. You looking to the south. There is some a collapsed portion of the carved cavern to the north. On the very edge of your ability to see, you also see a collapsed portion of the cavern, and then ahead it starts to become much more roughly hewn in this area.
Alright, so it looks like that corridor right down here is the other side of that first collapsed hall where we first kind of appeared.
Okay. Go ahead and both of you make me a stealth check. Okay. So Clandon, you're kind of going along. You're whispering pretty slowly, and Aurora bumps into you, and kind of you get a little bit of a kerfuffle. Kerfuffle. But you hear a little bit of echo. You wait for a second, but then you continue to hear, like the distant sound of bat wings and water dripping onto stone, but nothing seems to have caught your attention.
All right, I'll go ahead and peek around this next corner.
Okay. So you go in. You see a collapsed portion of the hallway. This part of the actual cavern itself, again, is much more roughly hewn stone. It is the same stone that you've seen other places, and it goes up to the north much further and down to the south much further until it hits what seems to be a part of the hallway that is, again, more refined. But this section of the cavern seems to be a little bit more rushed. It seems like maybe it was perhaps in the process of being carved.
Alright, Aurora, so we've got a set of stairs, a door, and this kind of more cavernous, unfinished area. Which one do you want to explore first?
I don't know, you two.
Let's just keep going this way, so I guess we don't have to backtrack.
Okay, then I'm gonna mark up the wall over here.
Okay.
Alright, quietly. Quietly.
Which wall are you
I
doing?
want to mark the wall on both sides of this corner I'm standing.
Okay, it's right here and right here. So Clandon, as you're kind of standing ahead, you hear behind you
Here.
the soft scratching sounds, occasionally squeaking. But she's able to make those marks. On this one right there, you said? Or were you saying top and bottom?
No, just like that. That L.
Okay, perfect.
Alright, let's go down this way.
Okay. So you're going down, you see in the area down here, again, some collapsed hallways. You see down this direction, you see a familiar area of the cavern let me kill that. Dynamic lighting. Oh, that's the whole thing? Really? Anyways, I'll just tell you, it's the... Stupid, why did it do that? It's this room. It's the first room you were in. You see it now?
Oh, did we go the other direction last time?
Yeah, you went down south. So this seems to be the northern cavern of where you started out in the cave.
I want to mark right here where I am. I like that L again.
Okay. So Clandon, you're looking around down there. You see to the other side there's some rubble, and then over to the north there's some rubble, and then it goes around the corner.
Got it. Well, we've kind of gotten back to where we started originally in the caves. We could follow that path and try to make it back to the group.
So at this point you're kind of talking to yourself?
Yes.
Zora's up there marking the wall. You hear the echoes.
Just talking to yourself.
Clandon, go ahead and
Am I
make
done
me another
marking
stealth. Make me another stealth check. You're getting to that point, yes. Okay, so you are pretty stealthy. So, Clandon, you're kind of sitting there and you're saying, "Aurora, Aurora," and kind of getting this different sound in the hallway. Aurora, make me a stealth check as well, please. So as you're kind of scraping and screeching, Clandon, you would expect to hear the footfall of Aurora coming back towards your direction. Aurora, as you're standing there, you hear a dripping sound, just, but it's starting to get more frequent, and you feel something hit you from behind. So took an air.
Like a hard hit, or like water just dropped on my head?
Like someone took the slime from Nickelodeon and slapped you in the back with it.
Slime.
So let's see, ochre. And
Sick nasty.
when you turn around,
Ew.
it's like this giant booger fell from the ceiling and splatted right near you, and it's going to attack for this. Let's see, this is going to be, it does a 17 hit.
Yes.
Okay, you're subject to 7 bludgeoning damage. Now both of you roll for initiative. That was its surprise round. So you hear this down the hallway, Clandon, kind of like the sound of oobleck slapping on pavement, right? Just, and then you hear the Aurora grunt as she's smacked from an unknown entity.
Ugh. Blah, blah, blah.
That's lightning useless.
Yeah.
I am not doing good tonight.
It's okay. It did catch you by surprise, so it's okay. All right. So the 2, we're gonna descending. So the jelly itself, you see it as it's encroaching closer and closer to you. It is going to see 1 inch without squeezing. It's going to go ahead and it's going to attack again. Its action is pseudopod. I don't know. I'm assuming that's like slap. I don't know what that means.
No, it's throwing pods of yuck at you.
Or maybe it's throwing, yeah, maybe it's like, it's doing the shake it off dance, but it's throwing boogers on you and it's hitting you and whatever. 15, does 15 hit?
Yep.
Okay, so that's another 9 bludgeoning damage. You feel it again as it first comes down and whack and hits. You turn around as it comes down again with a ruthless attack and whack. And Clandon, you hear Aurora kind of lose her breath at the end of the hallway. What do you do?
I can see it, so I'm gonna go ahead and just quickly react and pull my bow out and shoot at it.
Okay. You and I will allow yours this particular shot with advantage because of your stealth roll.
Nice.
It does not know you're there. That's why it attacked. So at advantage, that's a natural 20. That is a natural 20. It does hit.
Yeah, it was a freaking 26.
5. So that's 20 damage. So as you shoot, you see it hit and it goes. And as the arrow goes in, you start to see this sizzling sound as it starts to eat and dissolve the arrow itself.
What the bugger?
As far as you can tell, it's a giant. It's like trying to tell if when you drank water if it hurt the water. You know what I mean? Like you're not sure. But you get the sense that it did ripple and kind of recoil a little bit from it, so it stung at the very least.
Alright.
Okay, and you are a ranger, you can attack twice.
Oh yeah, attack twice. Longbow, go!
Yeah.
I choose you! Okay, that 21, wait, that's with advantage, so we'll do the other one. I'm checking. Yes, it does hit. Again, you shoot. This thing's a very large, blubberous entity. It's not. It's kind of slow moving. It's not hard to hit. So you hit 8.
Yeah,
Another.
You say that, and then I go.
you shoot it, and you see another arrow. You feel like the Alka-Seltzer sound. They're not. It's not just disappearing, but you see it slowly start to dissolve it. And you get that kind of Alka-Seltzer kind of sound. Okay, so now it's your turn, Aurora.
The stream is being
I'm gonna try and chop it with my sword.
Okay, good, and yes, that definitely hits. Roll for damage.
Say hi.
Okay, so that is 4. So at this point, we're starting to notice Clandon down below. You see it kind of take a back step for a moment, and you take this moment to take your sword and swing at it. Now that you can tell that its attention is now divided. So at this point, it looks at you and looks down the hall.
Do I get to go again?
You do get to go again, yes. Because you took an attack action, yes.
Wait a sec.
Okay. Okay. And then minus. Alright, so as you kind of go for the first one, you see as you're slicing through it, the arrows embed deep into it, but as you're slicing through this jelly-like substance, you see as it kind of comes apart slightly, and as it hits, you see it continue to divide, if you will, until suddenly now you have 2 jellies sitting in front of you. So at this point, let me copy a pasta.
We need fire. Burn it with fire.
Seriously.
And I forgot to do that on the first one, but we'll just leave it there. That's fine. So. But you see, as you've done your attack with the sword, you notice that as you're dividing them, basically it's just divided down the center, and they're 2 independently moving, but they're half the size of what they once were.
And then use fire. Light your arrow on fire.
I don't know if I can.
Okay.
Right?
So what you see now is this jelly climbs up the wall. You see it kind of take this. I'm trying to think of. Have you guys seen Fern Gully?
Oh, yeah.
You know that the hexus, the ooze, as it's trying to walk around, it's doing that thing up the wall, and it starts making its way down towards Clandon. So you see this nasty, just booger-looking entity crawling towards you, Clandon. So it takes its dash action, gets about to there. The other jelly is going to attempt to attack again on Aurora. And does an 18 hit?
18?
Yeah.
Yep. 9
bludgeoning damage.
Any team will hit me.
Oh, any team? What's your armor class?
Any team.
What's your armor class?
You cannot be that.
13.
13?
13
Really?
is my armor class.
I'm 17. We're both
Okay, I guess it is 13, yeah. Okay, so that's 9 bludgeoning damage.
Ugh. Yeah, that's it.
So he comes at you again, this smaller entity, but with the same amount of force. You feel it lash across just the side of you, and just unexpectedly, you see Aurora just breathing heavily at the end of the hallway, not quite sure what to do. Clandon, it's your turn. You see this booger entity coming at you. It's ochre jelly is the actual name, but
I'm going to, what should I do?
do you have a healing arrow?
No.
Sweet.
Like the one you shot into Tiger Lily's butt?
Let me see. I'm gonna use my hunter's mark
Okay.
on the jelly in front of me.
Okay.
It's a bonus action.
Alright. So just mark on the jelly. Got it. It is now marked.
And go ahead and use my longbow.
Okay, use your longbow. You draw back with the first attack. Pulls hard. At this point, you feel something drip off the ceiling above you, and it goes on your shoulder, and it scares the bejeebus out of you. So you rifle off one of the shots. As you kind of whip around, turn around, you re-steal yourself for your second shot. But that arrow, you have no idea where it went. 18 hits. Roll for damage. 6 piercing damage, okay? And then the +4. So as you shoot this, the arrow kind of goes inside, and you see it kind of start trembling, but the arrow just continues to, what seems to be just this unseen force of, goes further and further, and then you see it kind of just sink in, and you see the jelly start to shake uncontrollably, and then just and explode on itself, and you just see just this splatter and shower of just goo hit the ground as it dies. And then we're going to pause for the moment and pull back and pull over to Dormorlum, Venfina, and the others. So as you guys are hearing the clapping, he's walking down the stairs. Well done, well done. What do you do? Dormorlum, Venfina. And Roland's not here, but he's kind of here.
Oh, God.
Well, I lean on my warhammer.
I don't remember where I am.
You are, sir.
Interesting question coming from a man of your stature. As he kind of continues to walk forward, Tiger Lily pulling back in kind of a defensive posture.
Can I do a perception check since he's like right in front of me apparently?
Yeah, go ahead and roll me a perception check. So at this point, he's a hooded figure, just kind of walking towards you. Or walking towards Dormorlum specifically, but... so, Venfina, you see him, and you're not 100% sure everything about him, but when you're looking at him, he seems to have horns on the top of his head. You have the inkling that he may be a tiefling? but you're not quite sure because they're not as frequent in the areas you've been.
What's a tiefling?
A tiefling is a half devil, half human, or basically half devil or demon, that type of thing, mixed with a human. It's usually horns, hooved feet. They can be different colors. Usually have resistances to fire or that kind of thing. As player knowledge.
Can Vidax do a perception?
He can, yeah. Does he have any special extras?
Yeah. Has advantage on wisdom checks, perception.
Okay, yeah, he can.
Rely on hearing and smell. I don't even know what I would use.
Is he using? He has advantage if it's using hearing or smell. So if he's trying to smell, he can use that. Yes.
Mhm. Well, because he can't see, so he'd have to use hearing or smell.
Yeah, he's blind as a bat in this area.
Right. So what do I roll?
Just roll a perception check.
I don't have perception.
Wisdom.
checks for him.
Just roll a wisdom roll, and then that will count as your perception. 17. So Vidax, you kind of hear him just. And then he gets the smell from this person. This person is perfumed. This person is not. It doesn't smell of sweat. Doesn't smell of death. Doesn't smell of gore or other things. It's very kind of out of place from this area.
Okay. And so we are going to. We're going to put our guard. Not down, but like not be ready to attack.
Okay. So he does that. Tiger Lily, Aurora, how would Tiger Lily react in this situation? I'll give that to your discretion.
She know what it is? Can I roll a wisdom?
Go ahead and roll wisdom. Yeah, go ahead and roll a wisdom check for me. And can you see her from where she's at? Can you see her vision radius?
What? Sorry, Jackson was screaming.
Can you see from where she's at? Can you see her?
Yeah, she's on that pile of bodies, right?
Yes, she's on that pile of bodies.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay, I was just curious if you'd be able to see it. She does she have? I don't think she has dark vision, does she?
No.
And she's a cat, but see, keen smell. So she can smell him and she can hear him, but she can't necessarily see him. So this would be using her keen smell. So she doesn't get any kind of anything unusual. There's too much of the ghoul that she had just eviscerated is still fresh in her mouth, and she's not really able to tell a whole lot, but she can hear him. He's not being stealthy in any way. He's just walking out into the open.
Okay, I think what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna look over at Benfina and Doral Morland and see how they're reacting. If Benfina's being like tensed up and everything, I'm gonna get in a defensive position.
Okay, so looking at them, well, she can't see them. I'm trying to think how they would. Yeah, she'd see Dora Morland. Dora Morland's still not. What would you be doing, Dora Morland? Would you be relaxing up? You'd be able to see Dora Morland's silhouette because Roland does have a torch in that area.
Yes, he does. Dora one will. I'll have both my weapons, still brandishing my weapons in each hand.
Okay, so she would see Dora Morland really at this point, and he would still be not. Would he be in a attacking posture or just kind of like a show off posture?
Oh, kind of an intimidating posture.
Okay.
I'm still in battle mode.
Okay.
From fighting all those fools. I'm ready to see who's the next victim.
Okay, so I'm gonna look at him and see that he's trying to intimidate someone.
Okay.
And I'll get in the defensive posture and try and see or smell or whatever in the direction that he's looking.
Okay. Perfect. So she does that. He continues to walk forward. He kind of turns his head and nods in Venfina's direction. And he says, I see you there, my child. Come out. Come on.
I'm actually going to call Videx up to me, and I'm going to deal my hands.
Okay. So Videx approaches, kind of stumbling a little bit, trying to see where you're at.
I don't even know what his...
So this figure, he reaches out and he says, I've been watching you for some time. I've been very impressed with your ability to dispatch these local miscreants that plague this place. I would like to offer my services to help you in...
Okay.
Well, and then you start to hear, again, as he's walking, you're noticing it's not the normal of your shoes. It's actually of his hooves on this stone. So you hear that?
Okay, I'm also gonna do a divine sense.
Divine sense? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
What are you looking for?
Oh, I just want to know what kind of aura he is putting off.
The aura he's putting off is not evil. It's not undead. It's not... it just seems like a well-dressed Joe Schmo.
As he speaks, I ask him, services? What kind of services are you talking about? What could you possibly have that might be of use to us?
Well, I have many things that come in handy, we'll say. And at that moment,
I give him a go on look.
Okay, so as you kind of egging him on, you see, or you hear the kind of like a what would you call it? Like the creaking or like the sound of a spring that's going to be sprung, a trap, if you will. And you see a ghoul launching at you from one of these higher upper corridors. He pulls from his hand. He turns around, brandishing his cape around, and pulls out a hand crossbow, and with a single shot, hits this ghoul, and just it ends up crumpling at your feet.
I'll look down and be like,
And
nice shot.
in the time that you look down and look back at him, he doesn't have anything in his hands anymore. He's standing just as though nothing had happened.
Can I do another perception check to see if I understand what kind of person he, like not person, what kind of if he's like a caster or whatever.
Sure. Do me an Arcana check. And we'll see if you can see if he puts off any type of aura. So, you know that certain types of individuals, certain types of folk that do meddle with either arcane or religious magic, they usually seem to have a common thread. You can see them tapping into the different ley lines of magic in this area. And you do see around him a charged... something you would expect to see someone who's able to use magic, yes.
Okay, so do I make an assumption that he's like a wizard or... What do I know?
You're not sure. Wizards typically don't shoot crossbows.
Okay. Well, I healed Vidax.
Okay.
And
You dumped all the pool into him, or?
No, I just did. Anyway,
Okay.
so.
So he continues and he says, well, I'm glad you liked my little presentation here. I myself am a betting man, and I would like to wager my bets with you. What do you say? And he looks at both Dora Morlum, Roland, who's just at this point is a little bit just kind of like dumbfounded, just kind of catching his breath, and he looks back to Venfina over his shoulder with kind of a wry grin on his face.
person I am right
What's it is?
What's that,
Never
Aurora?
mind, I can't comment on that.
Nope. She'll understand kind of what's being said. It's all in common, but she wouldn't be able to speak anything back.
Right. It seems like he keeps looking at Benfina like he's way more interested in Benfina than Indora, Morlin, or Roland. I don't know if that's on purpose or not.
Angels and demons, you never know. She's not an angel, but
gosh. He's probably
referring to religions.
So he's looking at me right now.
He's kind of looking between each of you, and his last glance lands on you. Yes, as you're kind of doing lay on hands, he's kind of like giving you you get the sense that he's trying to figure out why you haven't joined with everyone else, and that you're still he's showing his back to you essentially, and he's a little bit suspicious of you that you're lingering behind him.
Hey, what did you say your name was there, mister?
Well, I haven't introduced myself properly, but if you would like, I can definitely do that. My name is Zaron. And yours?
Well, I'm Benfina, and this is Vidax.
Okay. Well, it's nice to meet you, Benfina, and what of these others? It seems you carry quite the zoo with you. He kind of gestures to the Vidax and to Tiger Lily.
Yeah, we like our familiars. And,
Familiars. Very interesting.
That little one in front of you is a Tiger Lily.
Well, Tiger Lily, I mean you no harm. My name's Caleb. That's funny. Let's say that.
And why have you been watching this then?
Well, it's you know, as many things that belong to be your business, this is also something I make it my business to see what's the ebb and flow of the way that the things work in this world. And I've seen you over the last little while. I've seen you do many things that have impressed me, and I'd like to make a I would like to propose that we work together.
We just met. I don't think you should be proposing.
Well, not in that way, my dear. Not in that way. I know I have this kind of effect on people, but not in that way. Now, I myself have found myself in a little bit of a predicament. And each of you has a unique set of skills that I find would be useful for eliminating some of these problems that I'm having. What would you say? Do you have an accord?
I don't know what.
Your Morlin Budsman says, and what makes you think that we would trust a stranger?
I wasn't asking you to trust me, but in all things in business, there's there is that needing to have this conversation in a much more private. And what he's basically going to do is he's going to reach into his pocket. He's going to pull out a small satchel of coins, and he'll throw it at you. And he says, "And if you should decide to help me, there's more where that came from." And you open the bag, it essentially throws and falls at your feet.
I pick up a bag of coins and weigh it in my hands.
Okay. The weight, the feeling of it, without opening it, you're not going to know what kind of coins, but it's a hefty chunk of coin.
I pocket it.
Okay.
You have my ears.
April. I need.
Maybe my aunt.
That's more what I was thinking. Now, in this particulars, I've noted that you're very good at dispatching the undead in these areas. My goal, of course, is to find deeper, caverns and secrets within this cave that I am not able to access because of these undead cretins, and they've been causing me great trouble. Now, I could go through and expend all of my efforts to dispatch them myself, but you all seem very much capable of doing so, and I figure, why let it go to waste?
Yeah. How about did you come on in this way? Were you following us after we came in, or?
As I said, my dear, I have been following you and watching your movements for some time, even through Phandalin. And he gives you kind of a level stare that basically just lets you know that he's being completely serious in this.
Do you happen to see our other companions in the cave?
Other companions, last I'd seen of them, there's a blinding flash. My guess, if after looking at different things and papers and researching this cave, I do believe that they would probably have ended up somewhere in one of the lower quarters.
You seem rather capable. Why is it that you need our help?
Well, again, I have my certain obligations that I must also fulfill. And I figure if we are all working towards similar goals, then we might as well help one another achieve them. You are here to uncover the Spellforge, are you not?
Oops.
That's why we're here, right? Maybe.
Yeah, we're here to help.
I'm here just for the gold.
And judging by your friend's torch over there, you've already found it. All I'm asking is that we rid the rest of this cave with these unfortunate, twisted pieces of the past.
Wait, he's saying that we already found the Spellforge?
He is indicating that, yes, based on the torch, the green fire that's coming up, pulsating off of the stuff.
You guys dip it in the, didn't they dip that in the big thing and it turned green?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the big hoo-ha about this whole epic.
It's not the big hoo-ha.
Hoot and holler, whatever.
Well, my dear, if you think that is just a simple hoo-ha, just think that if someone who is an actual skilled craftsman might be able to do if you simply just dipped your weapons in it.
Hey, now do our warm wants to go back.
I see that the lingering effects of just simply even being in its presence, you can definitely see how this is of benefit.
Well, if there's more coins,
Hey, Chunky.
I'm in.
Indeed. Well, I have his accord. I assume, does he speak for all of you?
Nah, they don't like me speaking for them.
And Roland says, well, where he goes, I go.
I'd like to do a perception check.
Go ahead. Roll perception check. And then I'll give you your perception stuff on it, but the camera's gonna pan out and come back in.
Oh, good gracious.
From that conversation. Moving up, nothing can bring me down. I'm gonna get you. What are you trying to perceive? What exactly are you?
I just am trying to see if there's a tall tale in his.
You get the sense that he is business oriented. He seems to be pretty plain with how he's speaking. There's nothing about his gait that makes you believe that he is lying. And I wouldn't say you trust him implicitly, but you get the sense that what he's saying logically makes sense.
Right. I just in the back of my mind, I feel like there's some aspect of this that he could be the spider. Is it the black spider?
Yes, black spider is one of the guys that was pursuing you guys.
Right. But he keeps trying to kill us, doesn't he?
He does. So, okay, so at this point, as it goes through, you get that feeling. Aurora, you hear behind you the splashing sound of just this ochre jelly disintegrating and splashing on the ground. You're breathing heavily, still having this embattlement in front of you. What do you do?
Sorry, I'm trying to get back to that screen.
No worries.
Okay, I had a question.
Okay.
If I attack first, does my second thing have to be an attack?
Yes. So what happens is if you take the attack action, that enables you to take a second attack action. So you can, and that attack could technically be a spell or an attack, but it would be. Does that make sense? It would have to be something that you're intending to do damage.
If I attack first, could I then drink a healing potion after?
No, because it wouldn't be an attack. So
that was my question.
Yeah, so it's not a second action, it's a second attack is what it is essentially.
Got it, makes sense.
But I allow, as a DM, since we started, I allow using potions as a bonus action. Because I think using a full action for a potion is lame. So if you wanted, you could drink it as your bonus action, and then you could still take a regular action to attack and then attack a second time.
So I could attack 2 times and do a bonus
and
action
pop a
of
potion.
healing potions.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm doing that. Okay.
Okay. Under the regular, the standard rules, technically drinking a potion is a full action, but specifically for health potions, I'm thinking if I'm an adventurer, I'm going to have those at the ready, so I can just pop them when I need them, you know? That's just the way I think. Whereas, like, if you're going to take a potion of lightning resistance or something, you'd probably have to go through your bag and find it, that kind of thing. So the first one hits, and the second one also hits. Roll for a damage. So on this first one, as you slice through, you see -3. You see again as it goes through and it divides into, and you see a second one divide from this jelly right on top of it. So you see another one.
Does this just happen with swords?
You don't know. As far as you can tell, didn't do it with the arrows, but as soon as you started slashing with the sword, it's like a hydra. It is half the size.
I can't do it with the bow. I'm way too close.
I know.
If I back up, he'll get
You're
advantage
learning.
and hit me again, and
You're
I'll
learning
die.
as an adventurer. I mean, this is all within like 3 seconds that this whole fight is happening. So you're learning as you go, is what's happening. So you hit that one. The second one, as you go through, it's gonna go for 4. In that you slash again in that same entity, and this one, as you're kind of come through, you feel it hit something inside of this ochre jelly that just cracks and fizzles, and then you hear that splooshing sound as it's just whoosh, up against the wall, and it's just completely spattered. But the other one is still sitting there.
There's something on the inside you have to aim for.
Okay.
Okay,
So
now I'm gonna drink my potion.
okay, go ahead, and that is if it's a regular potion, that's gonna be 2d4 plus 2. Checking. Healing potion. Oh, I failed my investigation check. Let's see, do you have it in your equipment?
What?
Yes, I have 2 of them. I'm just gonna do one though.
Okay, I'm just making sure what your potion of healing. Regular potion of healing is common. It is 2d4 plus 2. So roll 2d4 and add 2.
Oh, does that mean 2 rolls of the d4
Yes.
plus 2, right?
Yep. So a minimum of 4 healing. Maximum potential would be 8, 9, 10.
I got a 4.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So as you're doing that, you see as this jelly, again, doing that whole hexus thing where the ooze is reaching up towards the ceiling, and you see it kind of start attaching, and it pulls itself up. It's going to maneuver itself over you, and then it's going to drop down on top of you to try and attack you for the last time. Let's see. For the last time.
8.
Does a 14.
Yes.
5 bludgeoning damage. Bludgeoning damage. So as he hits, you feel again, just like, normally as you're slicing through this, it's almost like gelatin, but when he hits you, it solidifies and just becomes, again, the consistency is that of oobleck. It's like a non-Newtonian fluid, where as it applies force, it gets much more damaging. So it hits, and then you see it just kind of sitting looking at you. Clannon, what are you doing?
I'm gonna launch one more arrow.
Okay. $20. Okay, hits. Roll for damage. This time, Aurora, as you're kind of sitting there, you see as the arrow passes through, you hear just an audible crack sound as the bolt or the arrow just goes straight through, hits the wall on the other side, and it just erupts, and you're just inundated with just ochre nasty splooshed all over you.
Okay, so I fall to the ground.
He's dead.
He's dead.
Oh, good.
So you can breathe easy. You can breathe easy. So he's dead. Clandon, that thing you accidentally saw at the beginning, you finally killed.
That thing you saw accidentally?
Yeah, you said something at the very beginning. You're like, I think I saw something. I was like, oh crap, that's on the wrong layer. Up.
Oh.
So, you guys are kind of breathing heavily. Clandon, you're into the hallway again. You've got everything you need from here. What are you guys doing at this point?
I am resting on the ground. I need to take a healing potion or ask Clandon to heal me or something. Clandon, you have laying on hands. Oh wait, do I have that?
You might have healing word, possibly.
It's only whatever I am. Paladin.
Paladin, yeah. But if you do have rangers, I think are able to cast spells.
Cure wounds.
That's the one. Yeah. So cure wounds.
Can I cast that without being in a battle?
You can, yes, you can cast cure wounds at the second level. That would be 2d8 plus 2. And that would that would use one of your second level spells. Which
So
you
put it at
haven't
level
used.
1 or level 2?
That's up to you. If you only want 1d8 plus 2, cast it at the first level. If you want 2d8 plus 2, cast it at the second level. Because right now you have 4 spell slots that you can cast, first level spells that you haven't used, and then you've got 2 second level spell slots that you can use.
Alright, I did level 2.
Okay, so you cast that. Go ahead and on your spell sheet. So if you go to the spells tab, in there, take the on this right here. Do you see where I switched it? Since you did it the second. Oh, you're good. So do you see where I'm at on the spells tab? Just doing it. Let me know when you're there.
Okay.
Okay, so right here. Do you see right there where you have cure wounds? Since you cast it at the second level, I did it right here down lower on this the above pass without a trace. Those are your second level spells, and it used 1 slot. So you have slot remaining 1. Does that make sense? Whereas your other one, you still have 4 slots. Let me know if that makes sense or not. The way they lay the spells out here is really dumb. If you want, you can keep track of it in D&D Beyond. That would work too, because I like theirs better anyway. Okay, so you're able to do that. Go ahead.
You're just gonna have to show me after the game.
Yeah, we can do that. No problem. So go ahead and roll. If you click on the spell, it should roll for you.
Where should I click? I clicked on it.
I guess not.
Before.
I guess it's set to do just the spell card. So go ahead and roll a 1d8 and then add your spellcasting ability modifier, which is 2.
Come on, eight.
So,
Eight.
so slash roll 2d8 plus 2. So Clandon, you're coming up. You see Aurora just kind of collapsed on her knees, just kind of sitting on the floor with her knees kind of going outwards, just kind of like. You see her start to covered in slime head to toe, and you see her kind of muttering under her breath as she casts this cure wound spell. 2d8 plus 2. Okay, so 9 health. So as you see this kind of like green healing magic emanating from her hands as she just kind of like is wiping off the ochre jelly, and you see as it just kind of like the ochre jelly sizzles and disappears on these areas that she's doing it. You see some of the wounds, the bruise that was completely evident on the side of her face from when it clocked her. You see it start to the swelling go down. Her eye becomes less swollen and. She's in much better shape than she was.
Nicely done.
Woo woo!
Alright, so while you guys are now that you've healed, what do you guys... Where do you pursue?
Try to retrace our... So down below is the cabin where we first started, so we can retrace our footsteps to try to catch up, or continue through here. What do you want to do?
Jo-sama.
So either go down or go back.
Either go down and try to catch back up, if we can find a way back, or we try to find it by going through this area that is unexplored.
What was down in that hallway? You never told me.
That's what I'm saying. Down the hallway leads into that small little cavern where we first started, where we kind of rappelled down the cliff.
Oh, so it's the big loop-de-loop. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back this way and try one of these hallways, I guess.
Do we want to try that door?
Doors are scary.
Doors! Worst enemy of all adventurers.
No, we can go to... Hold on a sec. Yeah, why don't we just go... Let's keep going where we're going. Let's head north and see where that leads. Let me take the lead since you're, still kind of hurt.
Okay. So I'll tell you now, as you guys are kind of make your way slowly up there, I assume you guys are going stealthily? Roll me a stealth check, please. Okay, so Clandon, you're walking by deftly, kind of stepping around any rubble, being careful not to shuffle any dust. And then Aurora... Stealth is 20. Perfect. Okay, so the both of you, you're passing quietly without a trace, and I'm going to give you a description of what you're approaching as you see it, and then we're going to pan back over to the other guys. So, as you enter into this cavern, there's a still pool. It fills much of this cavern. The water is dark, revealing very little of what might lie within. The shore of the pool consists of a thin layer of broken shells from strange, pale mussels, and a fishy odor hangs in the air. A passage leads to the south from this area, which is where you guys are coming from, and it sits. And if there's a set of steps way up to the on the eastern part of this, it climbs up and out of this particular area. A sluggish stream flows out of the cave to the northeast, outside of your view, but again, the pool itself is just unnervingly still. And
it's
so,
like that stupid pool on Harry Potter.
I don't like that. Let's go back the other way.
Preston's like, no, wait.
the pensive. You see a glint of gold. No, I'm just kidding.
Jump up out of the water.
By the way, Venfina, your glaive is still sitting over here. So from last time,
Go towards that red blinky light.
you dropped it. Wait a minute. I mean, technically Aurora knows where it's at, but I appreciate her not using player knowledge.
True that.
I can technically see both on my screen.
Yes. Okay, so zooming back in, Zaran, he's after a little bit of talking and what have you, he says, "It seems that we have like goals in mind, and I think that we can work together. Now, I think
right back.
okay, the first matter of business is that of finding your friends. Would you agree?"
I think that's accurate.
All right. Well, give me a moment, and I will see what I can come up with. And so you see him kind of walk up to the table over here, and he sits himself kind of backwards down onto the table itself, resting, and he puts his hands together and just kind of like I don't know, he interlocks his fingers in an odd way. And you see his eyes kind of start darting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And this goes on in just total silence for about 5 minutes. What do you guys do?
Obviously do a perception check.
Okay. Go ahead and roll a perception check for me, please. 15 perception. You get the sense that he is casting some kind of spell. Based on his movements and what have you, and how long it is taking, it seems that he's performing some form of ritual that is going to do something. You're not familiar with this specific subset of magic. If you'd like, you can roll a Arcana check for me, and you can tell what you can possibly tell based on components. You're not as familiar with this particular spell, so you're not really sure.
Alright. Well, I'm gonna let him do his thing, and I'm gonna look up around on this area that I'm at.
So up on the escarpment, you look around, you see is your dog coming with you? I mean, he's probably stuck to your side because he can't see anything.
I'm gonna have him go get my glaive.
He can't see, but sure.
Yeah, but he can smell it. He knows what I smell like.
Okay.
Right?
At disadvantage, it would take him probably the better part of 20 or 30 minutes to find it.
Seriously?
It's a dog! He's blind!
He's not blind. He has sense of smell and hearing.
Just think, okay, I want you to find your keys and go in a room that's completely pitch black.
Maybe he'll go towards roll one.
Okay, so he would go towards Roland. Roland would help him? Okay, so in that case, yes, that would be fine. He'll go through the pens of light. Roland will help him out, and he'll get there in a lot less time. Based on your instructions of where it was left, he kind of sniffs around and is pointing with his nose, and they're able to retrieve your glaive. Roland currently has it. Do you want? What did you instruct the blink dog? Did you tell him to bring it back? Okay. So he's going to hang out by Roland. So you're walking around. You see the same familiar thing. You see different stalagmites and stalactites all over in this part of the cave. And you see a staircase descending down into a hallway from the south.
And how long has it been?
At this point, you see Zaran. His eyes open, and his... Well, you don't see him. Everyone else does. It would have consumed about 10 minutes worth of time. He's sitting there, and you see his eyes glaze over with this milky white glow. And Dora Morlem, you see this as he's turning around and kind of looking different directions. And then you see him take a deep breath and close his eyes, and then comes back to his normal self. And he says, "I have located your friends."
And where might they be?
It seems they're not too far from here. They've been caught up in what I can only figure is near a large cavern of water, and there's only two that I know of. And based on their facial expression, I don't believe it's the freshwater cave. I believe it is one of much more stagnant descent. I believe I've seen this place before based on my research and finding things, and if you'd like, I can lead you there.
Yes, please, lead on.
All right. Can all of you see? And at this point, Roland's torch is out, so he's blind as a bat. Because those torches only last like an hour, I think. Okay, so he holds Vidax. What is everybody else doing? Are you guys like doing a daisy chain shell? You also have Tiger Lily is also unable to see in these conditions. So.
Hold on 1 second. Oh, Ellie.
Yeah, I will take up the rear, I think.
Alright. Okay, so you go.
Have Roland go in the middle with Vidax, and then maybe Tiger Lily right in front of me.
Okay. I mean, as you're kind of lining up, and he can kind of see this, he says, "Oh, that's quite unnecessary." And you see him snap his fingers, and you see lights, like 5 or 6 of them floating in the air, and they kind of float close to you guys. These emanate light about 10 feet away from you. So for those who don't have dark vision, can kind of at least see a trail of lights that are going behind him. Kind of think of like from Brave, the Will o' the Wisps kind of thing. He says, "Yeah, follow me." And so, for brevity, you guys, he leads you down. I'm gonna grab all of you, maybe. And
as we're going, I ask him about the spell that he was casting to find our friends.
Oh, it's nothing but a simple scrying spell. It's something that I've learned intuitively throughout the years.
And how about do you scry for someone that you haven't ever met?
Well, if it's somebody that you're able to be familiar with, or perhaps you have something of theirs that was once belonged to them, or those things of that nature would allow you to see someone who you might not be as familiar with. But if you've come in contact with them, you've seen their face. It's a fairly simple process, really.
Do you happen to have something there that made it easier?
Well, my dear, I don't give all my secrets, now do I? But I did say that I have been watching you, and I have seen their faces. So, don't you worry. I have no need for such small things.
Interesting.
Aurora, beard.
Bearded.
Double trouble.
Okay, so as you guys are coming down, Clandon, as you guys are coming down south, you hear. Well, actually, what's your perception? What's your passive perception?
Let me find it.
I can get Aurora's real quick.
14.
14? Okay. You can hear it. You hear the sounds of a lot of footfall. You hear the sounds of padded feet touching stone. You hear the clumping of boots and the kind of the chinking. What kind of armor are you wearing? Is it chainmail or was it leather?
I believe it's
Nobody has armor that's...
chainmail, yes.
Chainmail? Okay, so you kind of hear the swishing of chainmail, of like casual walking, not like... and you hear the sounds of what sounds like hooves on... A single set of hooves on stone. You hear
I freeze and become one with the wall.
Go ahead and roll me a stealth check. 19. Okay. Perfect. And let me roll a perception check on his behalf.
I rolled for Sarah too. Hey, when I roll, she gets good rolls.
Oh my.
Okay, where's he at? Sorry, there it is. I need to roll a perception.
For who?
Submit.
What's that right there on the ground?
Okay, so 9. What do you mean what on the ground?
Looks like a blood stain.
That's a person.
That's a person.
That's a person walking towards you. So you see him before he sees you by quite a bit, because he's in the middle of a conversation with somebody behind him. You're not quite sure. As they start to come into view, you see a tiefling man approaching you with fine robes, at least a traveling cloak and some very nice clothes underneath. Very slender, very taut and agile. But you see that his feet aren't feet; they are hooves, and you start to see that he does have horns on his head to indicate that he would be a tiefling in nature. And as he kind of approaches, he says, "Well, it seems that we have found your friends here. Hello there. You may come out."
I'm all like, I rolled a 19. How I'm here?
You say? Does Clyden say he rolled a 19? Well, my friend, I will not lie. I will tell you from your friends. I have found you by magical means for your friends here.
And I look kind of past him like, oh, hey guys. Who's this guy?
Hey, Landon, Aurora. Good to see you're all in one piece.
Well, it seems I have your name. My name is Zaron.
Zaron, I'm assuming if my companions are with you that I don't need to pull out a weapon.
Yes, it's quite unnecessary.
My name is Splendid. I don't see any shackles on their hands and feet.
No, not at all. And he steps aside and kind of, does kind of a twirl about, and he says, I have nothing here that means you any harm.
As you can see, there is nothing up my sleeves. And Aurora's like, yo.
I see that you've encountered an ochre jelly.
Yes, and he and his, I don't know, those children or cousins or. I wouldn't recommend slicing them with your sword.
Yeah, duly noted. It's a simple thing to know that, ochre jellies, should they be divided, will become two separate entities, but I see that you've learned from experience, which I'm glad that you survived.
Yes. Aurora is a little worse for wear, but we did survive.
Excellent. Well, I have, in some form or fashion, employed your friend's services, and now I do not mean for them to speak for you in this regard, but if you are interested, I believe we have common interests.
What's up?
Well, in effect, there are more entities in this cave that are prohibitive to my research, and I would be most obliged if you would be able to help me to remove these impediments to the greater knowledge. And I've already know that you have found the Spellforge itself, which in and of itself is a great feat, and I'd love to see it, but there are dangers yet that we must deal with. Yep. And he says, so are you asking him as Clannan?
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't know we found
My dear boy, look at your bow. What do you think? What power do you believe has infused your weapon, other than simply dipping in the flames?
Magic fountain?
My dear boy, it's this you have uncovered something that's of great import, and in the right hands with the right enchanter and the right conditions, great things can be made. Just think, you simply dipped your weapons in and they were saturated with power.
Well, might I ask, are you those hands that can perform such amazing feats?
Well, I myself am not no enchanter by any means, but I do believe that if we're able to clear this cave, that we might be able to find those hands and those things to be able to bring to fruit many great armor and.
What is the nature of this research? I don't really have any problem clearing this cave because we're already kind of doing that. But
Well, if it's... It is something that... roll me a persuasion check. We'll see if you persuade him to give you... That's kind of like his magnum opus. 5. He kind of looks at you and he says, I'm sorry, the research that I do, it's very difficult to explain to someone who may not completely understand the arcanum that is a part of it, but know that it... we're studying ley lines and different networks within this area for transportation.
Alright. Well, I look over at the group and like, we good with this?
I am all for it.
Excellent. Well, I will leave it up to you. So far, I've been watching, and you have had quite the intuition on where to go. Where would you like to go now?
Well, we were just coming back from yonder, and I kind of not back behind me. And there's this really creepy pool back there. Definitely had an ominous feeling. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be something
Intriguing.
in there.
Very intriguing. Well, if you like, I'd be more than happy to give it a magical once over, unless one of you would like to do so.
Yeah, Zazar, go ahead. Tell us what you think. I know you've done a lot of research of these caves.
It would be my pleasure. And at this point, he kind of bows, and if I may, and kind of puts his arm out just to ensure that he's not gonna encroach on your personal bubble to walk past, because these caves are getting kind of tight. So he goes forward. Is anyone following with him?
I am.
Yeah, all behind him. We all went.
Okay.
I'm right behind him.
Maybe not door.
So he comes in, you see him kind of smelling the air. He takes a single hand and dips his finger in the water and smells it, kind of tastes it a little bit. He says, it seems this cave is relatively dormant. This water seems to have been sitting here for a very long time. I would not recommend drinking it, but otherwise seems very benign in nature. The stalagmite and stalactite formations in this room are quite curious. They're very, much like the rest of this cave, pulse with magic that is not found in many other caves. And he kind of dribbles on a little bit, gives you kind of a little bit of kind of geological and kind of elemental type drivel, essentially, just kind of stuff that he would just kind of list off, and he'll just kind of keep running his mouth until someone stops him.
I go ahead and interrupt him. I'm like, oh, I just remembered something. Do you mind if I ask you one more question?
Yes, go for it. How may I help you?
You seem to have been aware of us, and we had a couple companions that preceded us to the cave here. Might you have run into them?
I believe you're speaking of Gundren and Sildar?
Correct.
From Phandalin, yes. I believe you overtook them quite quickly. I was surprised to see that you had not stopped to stay with them. They had gathered some provisions and began their journey, but had to end up stopping for a while. Forgot some things. Gundren very, very kind of haphazard with that kind of thing. But you arrived a solid 8, maybe 10 hours. I haven't seen them since, but you've arrived much earlier than they have.
Oh, great.
You're quite knowledgeable and quite the perception on you.
Indeed.
Right.
I have my methods, as I found you.
I have my methods. Very nice. Well, we appreciate the help.
It is my pleasure. It's my
Good
pleasure.
to know they're not lost wandering in the cave.
Indeed. So anyone in here, as you kind of come into this room, you see again that to the north there's just water as far as it starts to fall off from your vision, how far you can see with your vision. You see the stairs going up to the right. The room itself is quiet. You hear the dripping and like the very, very slow trickle of water coming from somewhere in the way north of the cave.
Alright, shall we continue?
Yeah, yes, we shall. So he kind of muddles forward. Unless one of you guys stop him or have you, he's kind of going around looking at different rock formations, different pieces.
I just keep.
Do we get everybody? Okay.
No, Tiger Lily's back there.
Okay, I'll pull in Tiger Lily.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to ask control her too.
Oh, there you go.
I'd like to do a perception check on this. See if there's anything magical about it.
On what?
The lake.
Okay, go ahead and roll me an investigation.
Alright, investigating.
Okay, 16. So as Zaron's walking forward, you see with the lights as they're dancing and things, you see the reason that this water is so dark is there's what looks to be kind of like a seaweed, I guess you could say, kind of dancing in the water, but you do see like the glint of different things down in the water, and upon closer inspection you see a couple of different just long disheveled bits of like, here's an orc head here, maybe there's a leg here, you're not really sure what bits and pieces they come from.
Head?
Like a long dead, a skeletal head, just like smashed to bits. Nothing, not like a complete skeleton, but just you're seeing remnants of this, very similar to you've seen in lots of the other places in the cave, and you find at about 10 feet out, you see purple robes that normally wouldn't necessarily fit in with all the rest of the other garb. Like this is saturated old leather and other things that is what the seaweed is. Essentially, it's their clothes and whatever that is being just there sodden for years and years. Yeah, kind of like a graveyard. But you do see one particular thing about 10 feet out, looks to be maybe 10 feet deep in the water, that is a lot more colorful in nature, but it's moving in the same pattern as everything else.
Am I freaked out by it?
No, not at all. I mean, other than the fact that it's water and you've seen a bunch of skeletons in other places, you don't get the feeling of, you don't smell the undeath, you don't feel undeath in this room, you just feel, just this is a place where things have long been laid to rest.
I would like to know how deep I think this thing of water is.
Well, looking at it, as far as you can tell, the deepest portion looks to be maybe 20 feet deep, but the particular place of interest is only 10 feet.
I'm gonna... How tall is Vidax?
Want me to go get it?
Vidax is about your waist height. Think of a Great Dane.
Right. He's pretty good swimmer, isn't he?
Sure.
I'm gonna ask if...
Is Max a great swimmer?
Yeah, he's stupid.
Okay. Sure.
Anywho, I'm gonna ask him to go in and see about retrieving that.
Okay. So he kind of looks at you for a second and understands what you're saying. You see him bow his head, and he kind of slowly, like, just lazily plods into the water and sploosh, 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 sploosh. He comes back. As you see pulling back from him, just like a dog with bones, you see he comes back with what seems to be the forearm of a skeleton, and then hanging off of the hand, there are 2 rings on the hand, and a wand clutched in its hand.
Alright.
So as he kind of walks up, it's kind of dangling and hanging off.
Yay!
So he kind of comes and sets it down, and he basically, you get the feeling, not necessarily words, but the impressions of this the shiny thing you want?
He understands how grateful I am that he just did that for me.
And he kind of shakes off, and you get just the feeling of like, I'm wet.
Okay. Well, I have. Let me see.
But he's back out of the water. Zaron, as you guys are kind of walking around, he sees the dog kind of plodding out of the water, piques his interest. He says, "What do you have there?"
Hold on. I get in my priest pack and grab out my blanket for my Vidax.
Okay. So Vidax feels he seems perks up a little bit, a lot more grateful because being a short-haired dog as he is, he gets cold easily.
Okay. So I give that to him. We're gonna investigate or whatever what he just got.
So go ahead and write rings, or platinum rings is what the color of them is, the platinum color. Say platinum rings, page 46. And wand. So you're able to kind of, after a little while, break its fingers clean of this particular wand itself, which doesn't seem to be affected by the long being sodded in water. It looks new as the day it was created.
Well, Zaron, I'm not sure what we got here, but we're gonna try and investigate what it might be.
All right. Well, it's far beyond my abilities, but do be careful. There sometimes are things here that should be left buried.
Good thing it wasn't buried.
But if you are interested in getting rid of it, I might take it off your hands.
Okay. Well, I wanted to do some kind of history or I don't know, investigation.
Okay.
Are there any good markings on it?
Roll me a history check, and I will give you a generic. I won't tell you what type of wand it is, but I'll give you a generic. You know, there's lots of different types of wands. You're not sure what every type of wand there is, but you know there's been some that do, that fire lightning, some that shoot ice, some that shoot fire, some that shoot just force damage. Just it depends. But you know it's a wand. It's a wand.
Alright, well, I'm gonna cast my last divine sense to see if there's any dark auras on these items.
Okay, go for it. So you cast divine sense. You're looking as you're concentrating. Your eyes open, and you guys see that glow, that soft glow, coming from Vinfina's eyes. And as you kind of look down and peer into these things, you see no darkness in them.
Alright. I will acquire them. And
Okay.
I'd like to see with the rings, maybe.
Same thing with the rings. They seem to be finely crafted rings.
Do they look similar to the ring that I previously had of protection?
No, the one that you had before had different markings on it. These ones, you're not familiar with what's on these. They just seem like more of a fashion accessory as far as you can tell. But there's no still using your divine sense. There's no evil or any kind of cursed aura coming off of this thing.
Alright, well, I'm gonna put the rings on.
Okay. And this particular place, as far as because you can kind of tell when places have been desecrated or hallowed, this plane, this area seems to be at peace. Of all the other areas that you've been in, and they've had kind of either that ichor or that feeling of undeath, this place just seems to have laid to rest. It seems much more peaceful than the others that you've been in.
Interesting. Do we know where the water is coming from? Is this just is it intentionally having water here, or?
Are you asking me, or are you asking people in your group?
I'm asking, I guess.
Okay, I'm just asking if this is in character or not. Roll me a nature check. We'll see if you can kind of see what's going on here. 16. So looking around the room, you see this. Because you've been near some of the other places, you get the sense that this is just a place where water sometimes, when there's high tide, will get in here, but has a hard time getting back out, and so it stagnates. It just sits.
So maybe this, when these people died, there wasn't water or something?
Probably.
Interesting.
So Clandon, as you kind of go in the hallway, you see to the north a staircase heading to the north, and then in front of you another doorway, and to the south of you is a collapsed corridor.
Hey guys, there's a corridor and a door. Which one do?
I'm gonna hang back for just a minute. Since I feel such peace in this place, I just wanna take that in for a minute.
Okay. She's still. Okay. Roll me a stealth check, followed by a investigation check, please. Zaron's gonna hang back with you and just kind of take in the moment. Let's see. So stealth, yeah, you're able to plot up, no problem. Dora Morlum, you want to make a stealth check for me too? Would Aurora be hanging back, or do you think she's up there?
She's with us.
Okay. So go ahead and roll a stealth check for Aurora. And I'll just use hers for the other. So Dora Morlum, you're holding your chainmail, you're like, and kind of like walking up to it so it doesn't clink or chink. You're like holding it as tight as you can so that you can move really stealthily.
I'm hugging myself.
You're just like, yeah, hugging yourself, just trying to make it so you don't. Because like, yeah, I'm just picturing like Samwise Gamgee with a pot and pan on the back of his backpack, and it's like ting 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 ting. So Aurora, you all walk up really close, slowly. Clandon, you press your ear up against the door, and as you're listening, you hear kind of loud, gruff voices inside. They're not like thunderous or anything, but there's enough in the room that you hear like some kind of a quarrel going on, and no, that's mine. Give it back.
Hey, Pest. Are those little glowy things still with the group?
No, Zaron has them with him.
Okay, if that's the case, then I sent Vidax with Roland, since he doesn't have a torch anymore.
Okay, where's Roland again?
Vidax, like,
Oh, he's way down there.
No, he's not, but just...
He used dancing lights. So he has the lights.
Yeah, so that Roland isn't... I don't know, because Vidax has good smell and hearing. You know, he's an animal.
So he's leading him along.
He actually is a fey animal, so he's kind of more misty, and I don't know.
Alright, well, I'm gonna turn my head to the group and whisper, there's guys here. There's baddies.
There's baddies. What? We set a trap?
Hey, there you go.
Everybody pick a spot. And then I'll bang on the door and run. We'll ding dong, did you?
And then you trip and fall into the trap.
No, don't do it.
Let's do that. Just kidding.
Only if I roll one.
Only if you roll the one, yeah.
Alright, get in your position.
Okay. I'll let you guys decide what you're doing, and then let me know when you're ready. I'm gonna assume that you're given like SWAT signals and stuff, trying to coordinate people.
Another perception check in that lake room real quick.
Sure, go for it. What are you looking for?
Just since I feel it at peace here, just if there's any kind of deity markings or I don't know. Just anything in general that would catch my eye.
Okay. So you go ahead and roll that. Aurora, Panther, they're moved there. Dora Morlum, are you right there? Is that where you're standing? Do you guys communicate this back to Zaron and Vinfina?
I probably get an idea of it because of Vidax.
Door, go around the corner, and as they peek their head out, I'll smash you with a hammer.
Okay. Did someone communicate to him? To Zara?
He's at this point. He's just chilling back. So unless one of you guys came back and told him something,
then I'm gonna go ahead and make.
Well,
I'll
is Roland with you guys?
Or
Roland is with you right now. Roland he's pretty much blind. He's sitting with Vidax. So unless you tell Vidax to go somewhere, Roland is chilling back here.
I just told him to go with Roland.
He's with Roland, and Roland is not going anywhere because he can't see anything.
I thought Roland was with the other.
He's with Zaron because Zaron's the only source of light right now.
either that, charge in there, plant.
You guys ready?
Behind me. Or you knock, and then we just hide behind here.
Okay, go. So you guys, as you're doing this for Venfina's sake, just to get that, so I don't forget. As you're thinking and kind of getting the feel of this area, you don't feel a specific deity to this place, but you feel that neither gods nor demons nor fae nor this place seems like in life people were different, but in death they are all the same. And as far as you feel that because of this kind of circle of life type thing, you feel Dianrect, you're the god that you serve specifically, it feels like a stronger presence. She can have a stronger presence in this place because it is not corrupt in nature. It is natural to die. It is natural to have that breakdown of natural things, and that this is just part of that whole circle of healing, right?
Hey, Clandon. So I'll knock, hide around the corner. When they come out to look for us, we charge them, okay?
I'm a ranger, I don't charge.
I'll charge them, you shoot them.
Okay, but I'm gonna go run down the stairs and let the others know.
Okay.
And then I'll just shoot from down there.
Okay, roll me a stealth check, please, if you're running.
It's a figure of speech.
16, yeah, you're fine. So you're just
Alright, so here I go.
inside. They're quarreling enough that they didn't seem to notice.
Well, I haven't ran yet. That's for after I bang on the door.
Okay.
Is it wood? What kind of door is it?
This is just like many of the other places in this area. It is it's a wooden door with stone inlays, if that makes sense. You've got iron bands, and you've got precious.
Make some noise on it.
Yeah, you can if you rap on it, you'd be able to make some noise.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bang on it and say, "Hey guys, I think there's some stuff in here," and I book it.
Okay, so you
got company.
And then as the first rap that you hit, that you're kind of given a little extra force to make sure it hits, is a lot louder than you would have anticipated. Like it, because of the chambers and the way that it happens, you just hear this echo, kind of echo through down the hallways, and you hear inside Dor Morlum, since you're still near the door, you hear the who's at door? You get. So at this point, one of them kind of gets up. You hear the scraping of boots approaching the door, and then you hear the large door. And as he peers out, I'm trying to get this at the same time as talking. Dynamic lighting. Nope. Sorry, ignore that. I'm trying. So Clandon, you guys can see now. Dormon, you see a single familiar furry head of a bugbear pull out, and he's looking around, and he's going to do a perception check to see if he sees you.
Wait, they can do that?
Yep. Of course. Well, you knocked on the door. He's going to be like, "Oh, what's going on over here?"
Oh no.
Character sheet. Oh no. Skills. So, which one is it? Senses, dark vision, passive perception of 10. So, you succeed. 13 succeeds. His passive perception is 10. So he looks out the door and he kind of.
Can
No
you
one.
see me from the...
This point, actually, yes, he would have. He roll me a stealth check, Clandon, and I think Clandon, you're probably the only one that he could see from that direction, just because you guys are downstairs, right? 12. Yeah, you're also able to evade him. He doesn't hear you. He doesn't smell you, and he looks back and he says, "No one's seen there." Then they say, "Someone's there. They knocked on the door. Go find them." All right. So he starts plotting out, walking towards here. Now I will give everyone a surprise round on this piece. And then after that, we're basically roll for initiative, because initiative order is still going to matter in the surprise round. Okay, so go ahead and roll initiative.
Oh, terrible. Oh, stop rolling those high numbers for... Wait, how many bugbears? Hold on. Wait a second.
Don't you worry about a thing. Every little thing's gonna be alright.
Ventina.
Alright, Tiger Lily, Blink Dog.
Pack of bugbears behind doors.
Seriously. You guys got away with the last one. You're not getting away this time. Just kidding.
Rude.
This is all as written, by the way. So, but it is quite funny. Okay, Dora Morlem, you're first in the surprise round. Venfina's second. Clandon third. Aurora fourth. Blink Dog fifth. Tiger Lily last.
Did he leave the door open?
Yes, the door is pushed open. This big heavy door, and so you can see just barely. Like since you're peering out and he hasn't noticed you, you can kind of see between his legs, and you see further into. Let's see how far is
Zaron gonna be in our initiative?
This snapping, snap to center. Oh crap! Come on, why isn't it working? They changed the ruler.
How dare they?
Yes, you can see two bugbears in there, and that room is lit. That room is emanating light from the looks like a fireplace in the center of it. So you can see the bugbear. There are bugbears in that room. At least 3 that you can see from your vantage point. So you go ahead and swing with your hew, and bugbear does not hit. Wait, hold on. He does not have his shield right now, so I need to reduce it by 2. Is that right?
Shields are +2.
So this guy does not have a shield, so that is... The battle axe misses, but the warhammer hits. So as you're kind of going forward, you kind of stumble a little bit and you swing, but then you correct yourself and you come back up with like an uppercut with your warhammer and clock him in the jaw for, that's 8 bludgeoning damage. Okay.
Yeah, single hand.
So you see him as he kind of looks down, he's like, and whack! Okay, next up. Do you have a second? That was your 2 actions, right? Your 2 attacks?
Yeah, that's my only action there.
Okay, perfect. Venfina, it's your turn.
Oh,
wait, hold on. I do have a 3rd action. Hold on.
So seeing all this, let's see.
well, I don't even know that I know about it yet.
Descending. You would know about it just because I believe Clandon came down and told you.
Yeah, I came down and told everybody down here.
Hey, why did Hey, Preston, see if you can remember.
What's that?
Why I'm thinking that I'm able to, as one action, I use
Action
Battle
Surge?
Axe, Warhammer, and then Battle Axe.
Action Surge, maybe. Wait, your feet. Do you have the 2-weapon fighting? I want to say, if you're holding 2 if you specifically took the feet, let me pull it up here on D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond. It's D&D.
Yeah, I need that. I'm trying to remember, because I thought I was
Okay.
able to attack.
Unarmed
let's see.
strike.
You can attack twice whenever you take the attack.
Use a bonus action, that's second wind. Yeah, so action surge, you can take an extra action. You have an extra attack, so every time you attack, you can take a second one. And then your weapon bond.
My weapon bond, I get to summon my weapon as a bonus action in my hand. Yeah. So I do gotta. I don't need action surge.
Dark vision, resilience,
I'm
dual
trying to
wielder.
remember
Here it
what I
is.
got.
Managed feats. So if you go to features and traits, you got a +1 bonus AC where you're wielding a separate melee weapon each hand, and you can use 2-weapon fighting even when one-handed melee weapons aren't light. You can draw and stow 2-handed weapons, would normally be able to draw and stow one. So I don't see anything there that's specific to like another attack with it, but you're able to do your modifiers different.
Well, hold on. Let's see here. For player handbook, page 72, you can attack twice whenever you attack. Take the attack action as your turn.
Correct. So the first attack is the first attack, and then you're able to take a second attack because you used the attack action. So it's not you attack and then get 2 extra attacks. Does that make sense?
Well, no, like as one attack, I get to use 1 attack for each hand, right? That's what it's telling me. I only get to attack twice. But then if I use action surge, it gets attack a 3rd time.
Correct. Because you take an additional action. So your maximum, let's see, so you attack, you're using the second hand, you can attack twice whenever you take the... Hold on, I'm just trying to absorb this in my head. You can attack twice whenever you take the attack action on trade. So you're attacking the first time, which means you can attack a second time, but because you're doing the 2-weapon fighting, the single attack doesn't allow you to attack with 2 melee weapon. Where's 2-weapon what? Weapon fighting, here it is. Offhand attacks, fighting style, once per rest.
Yeah, no. At beginning 5th level, you can attack twice instead of once. So I do get 1 more attack. It's a 5th level fighter.
Isn't that what extra attack is?
No,
How is that different?
Because when you have a weapon in each hand, you're dual wielding. So as 1 attack action, you get a hit twice. Correct?
I'm not sure. It's not clear here. I don't want to spend too much time on it, so I will allow it. I'll allow it this time, but then let's look into it and make sure, because we have another fighter in our other group, and which she does the same thing, but she usually I believe she takes 2 rounds of attacks. If I remember correctly, she attacks with both weapons and then can do another attack action and attacks twice. So I think you can do both, but we'll verify and make sure that it's within the bounds. Yeah. So go ahead. Yes, you can go ahead and do your attack twice. So 22 hits. Roll the second one. Sorry about that. Okay, slashing. So as you kind of come down, you clock him up in the head, and then as you come down, you take your axe and slam it on his foot. Let's see, -10. You see a couple of his toes just come pop off and skitter in the hallway, and he's just he's in the middle of just like all this happening within like 2 seconds. And roll your other attack.
No. I think that's it though. So never mind.
The 3. Yeah. Okay. So the 3. That's. I think you're right. I think you're right.
We'll stop there, and I'll go in and I'll.
Okay. Go ahead and just verify, then we'll be good. Zarin, at this point, you see him kind of look down the hallway, sees what's going on, and he kind of gets out of line of sight and pulls behind you, Venfina. And he's going to hold his action.
He's behind me? You said Zaron?
Zaron, he's coming. He's basically kind of like pushing himself up against the stone and looking down this direction. He's going to hold his action for when something comes into his line of sight that is not our party members. That is going to be his trigger. Venfina, it's your turn. You are right here.
Can you see me? Can I see him?
You are you're down the stairs, so if you peeked around the corner, you would have to go up the stairs a little bit to be able to see him clearly. Right now he's probably like half covered because they are tall. Like his head is scraping the ceiling.
What about back up? Can I see him better?
Yeah, I'd say yeah, because you're basically looking at a ramp, so if you moved a little bit further back, Your best bet is to go up the stairs, but yeah, you'd be able to see him a little better. He's still going to have probably maybe half cover from those stairs.
What's that little red thing?
Red thing.
I just clicked.
Hey, what's up, Acel? Welcome, welcome. Red thing. That's Zaron.
Oh.
It's a wizard.
Anyway,
You're a wizard, Harry.
Bugbears.
Roll me a history check. You've dealt with them in the past. We'll see if you can remember them in this split second of what your dealings with them with. You don't remember much. You know they're brutish. They're usually pretty slow moving unless you piss them off.
Alright. I don't want...
All she's seeing at this point is some of his teeth are flying out of his face. And then as his toes are flying out.
Engagement and he's been hit.
Dormorlum clocked him in the face, so his head's going up, and then Dormorlum's chopped his toes at the same time, so he's in the middle of like trying to come back down and recoil.
We're all in like getting a surprise action.
Yes, this is a surprise round. Aurora, you can barely see him around the corner, just for context. What are you doing?
I don't know. Sorry.
Don't rush her, Preston.
I'm trying to...
I'm gonna have to put timers on our rounds. 10 seconds. Figure it out. Go. Just kidding.
I am not a professional yet.
I think you all do fine.
Alright, I'm gonna do something called Calm Emotions. Part of my oath. Since I'm in this calm place.
Calm yourself. You lost all your toes, but calm. Chill, bro. Chill. It's all good, man. Yeah, man. It's been a long time. Acel. Say hi to Acel, everybody. We used to play Clandon. I think you were playing with when he was playing. On me, you, Gleason. Everybody. Ark.
Yeah. What's up, dude?
Oh, dear.
All the good stuff. Yes.
Oh, is he's not...
Okay, so you're going to cast it within range of 60 feet.
I'm not even...
You attempt to express strong emotions in a group of people. So that would include Dormorlum.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
She's questioning whether or not it's worth it.
Does that mean you can't go rage mode?
She's basically like, okay, here's a bunch of marijuana. I'm gonna light the bomb and throw it in the middle of them and watch them chill out. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Where's the measuring?
Are you going to do that or no?
Yeah, I'm casting.
Okay, so you're casting it.
It's a cast. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. So, okay, each humanoid. So Dormorlum and the Bugbear both need to make a charisma saving throw. And what is your save on it? Is that 14?
Mine is 12.
A charisma save, yes. So it needs to be higher than a 12.
Yeah, right. I got negative.
And it rolled a 5 and a 9. So,
Can I...
any effect causing charmers to be charmed or frightened. So it is not charmed, it is not frightened. Provided there is no duration in the meantime. Alternatively, you can make a target indifferent about creatures of your choice that it is hostile toward. The indifference ends if the target is attacked or harmed by a spell or if it witnesses any of its friends being harmed. So at this point, Dormorlum, he still feels pain, but he hasn't been injured after the fact. He seems a lot more mellow. So he's coming down, he's like, oh! And then Dormorlum, what's your... You can choose this part, Venfina. Is he indifferent toward the Bugbear? Bugbear's obviously indifferent towards you guys.
Well, I don't want him to attack the Bugbear again.
Okay. So he's Dormorlum. You're chill, man. You're chill. This guy, he's your friend. He's cool, man. He's cool.
Are there any other people in the room that are within that 20
Nope.
foot radius?
Where'd you hit it at?
More in the room, they're just not within 20.
If you hit the bugbear directly, no, it is not within the 20-foot radius. Is it a circle or is it a square? I want to say it's a circle. Let's see.
Sphere.
Sphere. Okay, so if it's a sphere.
It says each humanoid in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point within range. So you can say where the center is.
Okay. So I just want them to be within that.
So you're gonna cast as far back as possible.
It's a 60-foot range.
Right, that's how far away I can cast it from.
Alright, so if you hit it right, you basically be able to get this guy in the front, Dormorlum, the 2 bugbears in the back, but then there's another one that you can't, there's another 2 you can't see or reach. Yeah, so this guy, let me roll for these other 2 guys then, if that's the case. In the future, I'll have you give me a specific point first. Just to make it so that we don't retcon things.
That means we were out of range, weren't we?
Huh?
Only the bugbears were in range.
Dormorlum is the only one in range, and then the bugbears in the back.
Because I can reach up to 60 feet, so I could have cast it.
You could cast it way further back, but you just wouldn't be able to reach the guy in the front. It's like one or the other. Either you get the guys in the back or you get the guy in the front. So we're gonna do charisma save, 2 more of these. Okay, so that's an 11, so this guy also fails, but the other guy gets a 15. So he, let's see. We're gonna do it. Yeah, I'm gonna mark everybody with these. Chilled out, man. It's totally cool.
Alright, so that was my first action. For my second action, I'd like to, let me make sure I have it.
So the other bugbear feels like, man, this is cool. No, this is not cool, man. I'm like, it kind of shakes it off.
I'd like to, face step in there.
You're gonna what in there?
I'm gonna face step.
Okay, you're gonna bamf inside.
You know it.
Give me your wherever you're gonna go.
Let me double check.
Was it 60 feet?
I'm looking. Oh,
your turn's taking a long time.
Sorry. Misty step. There it is. It's only 30 feet.
Only 30 feet? Okay, so you could bamf up to, or right next to this guy if you want to.
Okay, that's where I'm going.
Okay, go ahead. So you guys see what for me are you,
I am in autumn, so now I can. Autumn.
So you see as there's a disbursement, specifically Clandon, you see just a swirl of leaves just disperse out of nowhere.
Up to 2 creatures of my choice within 10 feet of me must succeed on a wisdom saving throw, or be charmed by me for 1 minute, or until my companions deal any damage.
This is a bonus action, right? To face step?
That's correct.
Okay, just making sure. So that's your action and your bonus action. So I need to make a wisdom saving throw. 14.
Yeah.
Okay, he makes the wisdom save, so he shakes off the
second charm.
The second charm, yes. Dormorlum, if you want to also make a wisdom saving throw. Okay, so he rolls. Natural 20. So both of them, you come in and Dormorlum's like, just no. He shakes it off. You see him, he's in fighting mode. He's not willing to budge. Anything else before moving to Dormorlum?
Yeah, because I have a second action.
Okay, use your second action.
And what is this one called? Alright. I would like to now use my channel divinity emissary of peace.
Okay. Your turn.
Why are you laughing? What are you laughing?
Let's see, you can use your channel divinity to augment the presence of the right. Okay, so a +5 on the charisma check. Okay, so I will allow you to make one for at least for this because we're pushing a lot of actions in one thing. If you want to say something to him, you can roll for persuasion once this turn. Okay?
Alright.
To try and persuade him. What are you telling to him in the midst of his toes being cut off and all his teeth being knocked out? Yes. You see his little toes rolling down the hallway, making their way towards the stairs.
Oh, good grief. I'm so sorry, friend. Should I roll before I speak?
I say what you're gonna say and then roll. We'll see if it's effective.
I'm so sorry.
So he looks at you and
There's no need for this to be violent. I don't know why you guys are here, but we don't have to have this be a violent encounter.
roll for charisma check.
Where's charisma?
Charisma should be just your flat charisma or persuasion.
Oh, there it is.
Either one. Roll it.
Persuasion.
So 9 plus 5.
14.
So 14. He is going to roll a charisma check, and if it's lower than 14, you succeed. He rolled a 13. So, at this point, he kind of looks and he says, "You're not boss. What you are doing here?" And then we're gonna hold that for your next turn because that's 2 free actions. So, Dormorlum, you see this brute in front of you that you just cut its toes off, but now, and you're kind of get that adrenaline pumping in your ears, but now you're just kind of like, you're really chill, man. Like, you could go have a beer with this guy. He's pretty cool. He's a nice dude.
Is that it? Just that's how I feel, but I can still tell him.
Let's see.
He's charmed.
By the way, I did find out what I can do action-wise.
Okay.
So it involves 2 different things that I have. Here's that one, and then that one.
That one.
So
okay.
basically, I get an attack, and then use a
bonus action. Okay.
Attack, but then I get an attack again as my second attack, in which I get to add my ability modifier on that. So it kind of involves 3 different things.
Okay. So if I read this correctly, you're gonna attack, and then you're gonna you will consume your bonus action for that turn, for that first attack. Then the dual wielder
allows me to make a second.
You take a second attack round, which means you attack the first one, and then attack the second one. So it means that you would have 2 rounds of do, right?
No. It allowed me. Well, actually.
Because if you read it says, you know, you're able to, on the first one, the bonus action. So let's just you do it in compartmentalization. You use your first action, and then you use dual wielder, so you hit him twice, right? Then you use your bonus action to hit him the 3rd time. And because of your 2-weapon fighting style, then you can use that your modifier on that 3rd attack, right?
No.
Compartmentalizing it into one action, right?
Yeah.
And then the second action, you're still able to take a second attack action, which would be a full attack action, but it would not include the bonus attack.
No, technically, so what it would be is I get an attack, and because I attack, I use a bonus action.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't my ability modifier on that.
Okay.
Then I get an attack one more time, And on that attack, I get to use the ability modifier.
Correct. So that's 3 total slashes so far.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So that sounds
The bonus action again.
correct, because the bonus actions are only 1 per round. You're correct.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's why I get an attack, and then I get an attack with a second weapon as bonus action. And then I get a third full attack, and I get to use an ability modifier on the damage.
Perfect. Okay.
So that's where my 1, 2, 3 comes in.
Yep. That's so you do. Okay. Perfect. So I think we're good there then. And let me see. I'm confused. I might have gotten you out of order then. I think did I have you? I had you go first in the round. So.
I would already used my surprise attack.
Yeah. So it's the next one. It's gonna be Aurora and then Clandon. I did that a little out of order. That's my fault. What's Aurora doing when she sees this bugbear?
I think I would have positioned myself as well between Dormorlum and the bugbear.
Okay. So you're kind of standing between them. Go
I
for
don't know
it.
how to move my
Hold
Alt.
Alt.
I don't.
I got you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you, Aurora, you see Dormorlum just kind of mellow out. The bugbear that at one point had that brutish ferocity is just kind of really chill, and then Venfina is just kind of like coming up in his face, Beauty and the Beast style, touching his face, I guess.
So basically, everybody looks like they're high.
Yeah, because I got high.
I don't know what to do.
Venfina always putting us in these awkward positions.
I'm ready to attack, and then it's like everybody's all like stroking each other.
Yeah.
And, like,
Hey, you're pretty cool, man. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so are you holding your action, or are you gonna? What do you think?
how long does that high circle last?
You've never seen her use this before, so you're not sure. But you can do. I'll let you do a religion check to see if you recognize this enchantment.
This is gonna be like a 3.
Oh, snap.
20! Okay, so you recognize this. You've seen her use this type of thing. She's using a combination of magics that are basically trying to pacify the masses. You know that Venfina's primary skill set is that of diplomacy, that of defense, that of healing, and she is using the full force of her abilities
Seriously.
on this guy.
And no one inside.
So my question is, if I come up like within the 20 feet of this circle, am I going to be hit with the?
No, it's been done. It's been bamfed and it's gone now. The effects are no longer lingering, just on the people who are affected.
Okay. How long are they in effect for?
For that part, you don't know.
It's up to a minute though.
I mean, for player knowledge, it's up to a minute, but for you as a character, you're not sure.
But my emissary piece is longer.
I'm gonna move up. I think I'm just gonna move on this turn.
Okay.
And I'm gonna see what Venfina wants to do.
Okay. Go ahead and make your movement, and then you can use your free action to talk to her, and Venfina, you can respond back within this. Again, this is these your turn. Each turn is like within a 6-second time period, so it's very. So whatever you say is like not a full conversation. Go for it.
So, what is the plan here, Venfina?
I've tried really hard to try and make this a peaceful encounter. I don't feel like we need to kill these guys.
But how else do we get the experience?
No, and in the back of your mind, Venfina, you do know that the nature of bugbears is typically aligned with evil.
Kill them before they kill us.
Just as because as a paladin, you would recognize those traits in a lot of different things, and you would, and so this is where your internal
But we
Poll is
saved
gonna
that
happen.
other bugbear.
No, it was a hobgoblin.
It was an owl.
That was an owl bear.
That was an owl bear.
Anyway,
Yeah.
You guys don't know.
All the bugbears we've
Which was a
encountered-
druid. Surprise!
Anyway.
There's like, I'm from here. I can see what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bears, and we're just hoping that these 2 or 3 can.
I'm so tired of all the bloodshed.
Okay, now it's Clandon's turn. Go for it. You can hear this transpiring. They're not talking quietly, so I would assume from this discussion. So what do you do, Clandon?
What do you do?
You look over and you see Zaron sitting there, and his eyes are about to pop out of his head. And he's looking like, he looks at you and he's looking up the thing and he's kind of like nodding his head up the hall like, what? Is she for real?
Guys, I just play how the characters do.
That's great. And like I said, I'm glad you play to your character's strengths and you're true to her nature. So.
Oh man, so much for our trap. I don't know what to do.
Here.
Didn't our people get the memo? Trap?
This is a love trap, my friends. And you are in the circle of love.
I'm not a hippie caster, okay?
I like it.
A hippie den. So what are you doing?
Let me take a look here. Can I do anything? Wow.
And meanwhile, where's Blink Dog and Tiger Lily?
I got it.
He's back there still.
I want to go ahead and cast Healing Spirit.
Okay. Yeah, and you're gonna cast it where?
That's my last one for now.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and cast it in Aurora space.
Okay. All right, Aurora, go ahead. And how much is it? 5 health? How much was it again?
It's I'll do
It's
the
about
roll,
how much
so
you roll.
1d8.
1d6.
6. Got it. Okay, go ahead and roll. And then Aurora,
Woohoo!
the mystical smiley face bird appears at your shoulder. And you see it just, you hear this, and this soft blowing blue light just kind of appears next to you. You feel that healing wash over you for 3 points of healing.
He's lucky I recognized the feeling, didn't punch it.
Or shoot it with an arrow in the butt and kill it.
And then I'm gonna hold my action.
Okay, so you hold your action. What's the trigger?
If Mr. Buckbear becomes not so chill.
Okay, got it. So you've holding your action. I'm going to go ahead and put a thing on you. Spring.
Where
And
are you, Clandon? Oh, there you are.
I never rolled for Roland. That's okay. He's the bottom of the bucket anyway.
That's custom.
That's too funny. All right, so Clandon, you do that. What are the 2 animals doing? Is Tiger Lily hanging up with you? Blink Dog?
I rolled
Tiger
for.
Lily's gonna come up with me.
Is she holding her action? Okay, and so you're holding your action too, right, Aurora?
Why is
Agreed,
good
yes.
Okay, and I just want to make sure I get them on there. Okay, so the action, if he shows any hostility, everyone's going to pounce. Roland is, he's like, was completely ready to go fight, and now he's looking at you, Clandon, he's looking at Aurora, and he looks over at Zaron, and he just kind of shrugs he's got his sword and his shield, and he's just kind of shrugging like, I don't know what the heck's going on right now. Like, what is going on? I've never seen this before. Like, do I kill him? Do I do? I don't know. This is confusing. So next up, the bugbear that's inside, he says, "Who that outside? What's going on?" And he's going to just be like, I don't care, whatever, do what you want. And he's going to go to the next one. Zaron is going to kind of move to the edge, and he's going to look around the corner, and he's going to hold his action again this turn for the same trigger. This other bugbear goes over and he sees out in the hall, he sees you standing with somebody, and he kind of stands up and goes and collects his things and begins walking towards the door. And you're like, who out there? And that's going to be for 30 feet of movement.
Everybody to answer.
Who out there? Oh, nobody. They cut my toes off. It's okay. And so he's like, oh, what? And he's gonna look out, he's gonna look around the room, and he sees like Venfina kind of reached up and touching his face, and he's gonna look at him, he's gonna look at Venfina, and he's gonna hold his action. Because he's confused as all hell. He doesn't know what's going on.
The episode in The Office where they're all like pointing their fingers.
Yeah. You, no, you. And now it's Benfina's turn. So everybody's looking at Benfina like, what? What are you doing? Like, I don't even.
Look what you did, Benfina. Look what you did.
We're in the standoff now. Like, first person to move dies. It's your turn.
Alright, Benfina, it's your turn. What's going on?
I'm going to lay on hands.
On.
You're gonna heal the bugbear.
Oh, the bugbear?
Bugbear. Yeah.
I don't even know why I try. I don't even know.
What do you mean?
I'm just that's I don't know. It's like, okay, I'm trying to decide in my head. It is a chaotic evil animal that will kill things for fun. So I'm trying to absolve in my head, in this situation, what does it do? Like, usually it just beats things to a pulp till it stops breathing, but this is an odd exception. So
it reminds me of that scene in Avengers with the Hulk, and he's like,
yeah.
Beauty
God. All right. So what are you doing? What is your action?
I'm healing him for 5 points.
5 points of healing. Right. Plus 5. So the one bugbear looks down. You see kind of where the bleeding was. You see these nubs just kind of heal over. The toes do not grow back, but he is no longer bleeding at least. And so he looks like confused.
What?
It's just what else?
Well, I don't know.
This is a powder keg that you've just created.
Let's see.
Try talking to his friend out.
That's true. See, I mean no harm. I don't believe that we need to have life spilled and bloodshed. And I feel like we can figure this out. And what does he say?
Give me a second. So he looks. Are you saying this to his friend?
No, I'm saying it to the one I just healed.
He looks at you and he says, "I don't care if you come or go. Why you cut my toes off?"
We have come across many bugbears that have not been willing to listen and have not been able to see past just death and killing.
So it's just kind of a reaction.
You talk too much. I'm going back inside. And he's just gonna walk back in past the other one. The other bugbear's just gonna be standing there looking, and he just kind of shuffles in, pushes past the other guy, and goes and kind of like lays down on the bed and is like, whatever. Captain Cheetos. Come here, baby. Can we hold you? Okay, fine.
I think she's a little tired.
Alright, so he sits there. The other bugbear is just looking back and forth. He's not seeing hostility. He saw that you healed him, but he knows that you're not with them. And so
How does he know that?
so he is going to, because you don't know how he knows that. So this guy right here, he's looking at you and say, "Who sent you here?"
He's talking to me.
He's talking to you because you seem to be the mouthpiece at this point.
We were not sent, but we don't mean you any harm.
You were not sent here?
We were not. We are just explorers.
And you were here to steal! At this point, he's getting much more posture. The other bugbears in the room are posturing.
We're just seeking shelter from the night.
Make a persuasion roll for me.
Alright.
With advantage because you healed the other bugbear. That's a 9 plus 5, that's 14. So 14 is your high. He's going to roll a charisma check as well to see if he... So he rolls an 8. Alright.
There isn't any more. We have to get more in here. I'm going to ask Sophia to get some more water.
So he says, if you're not here on orders, Black Spider will be very unhappy if you meddle in his things. You all look like easy prey. Stay out of my way. And at this point, he's going to drag his cudgel, which is basically just like a giant log or whatever in the shield, and he's going to drag the door shut awkwardly. And
I thought you already did it.
that's it.
I guess there was like a
disengagement, maybe.
Yeah, there's like we had a little bit of a disconnect. You were talking, and that was the resolution of the action. So you know that there is a group of bugbears in there. One nursing a recently lobbed off toes. Venfina, knowing that you have, go ahead and take another healing spirit. It will have been a minute, so you can take as many of those as you want to consume as you need.
Good. So that means I'm no longer under Venfina's act, right?
If I'm looking at the
After a minute.
duration, comes of 1 minute.
Yeah, I also have that emissary piece, and that is for a 10 minute.
So what is?
So once that dispels, Dor Morlum, you kind of shake it off, and you know that this is an enchantment. You realize that you have been, in some form or fashion, your emotions have been altered. In other words, and inside the room, you hear as the swag wears off, and you hear a crate overturn.
I give Venfina a dirty look. And then I charge. I go open up this door.
So you bust the door open, you swing it open, you're just and then the other guy, the only one in the room that seems to be pissed off are the two that were charmed, and that's where we're going to end it for tonight.
Why are you doing it?
So close.
Because at the end,
I just
at the end, when the spell ends, creature becomes hostile again unless there is any other compelling reason. He isn't necessarily Dora Morlum is choosing to be hostile in that case. The other guys, they aren't charging you or attacking you. It's just the one is freaking out because he's just like, I just walked away after someone chopped my toes off.
And I'm all pissed off because I got charmed by Nymphina, and I was about ready to kill this guy, and now I'm gonna go kill him.
So, we'll figure out what the resolution of all this is next time. Let me take a picture of the order. Yeah. So they're not he's not necessarily acting as an aggressor towards you, but he does. Him and Dor Morlum are. Yeah.
Why can't I mark him? I want to mark my prey.
Mark him your prey. Hold on, I gotta get this. So, yeah, great job, guys. Thank you. Good roleplay. Good helpfulness. Hopefully, you guys liked everything. Let me know if you guys want to see more puzzles or any of that kind of stuff. But for right now, you guys have kind of gone through. When is the next time everyone would like to meet? I'll have to obviously run it by. Maybe we should just do it inside of our group text.
No, Elliot's also not.
Is the 31st, at least for this group that everyone's on here, is the 31st amenable?
Of what? Of August?
August.
No. That's not good for me.
Does not work? Okay.
The 7th would work.
How's the 7th work for everybody else?
I have no idea.
We're good for the 7th.
You're good for the 7th? Okay. Okay, so let's plan on the 7th. I don't expect that there'll be any issues, because if I remember correctly, next week will be a conflict for Roland. So I'll check with Roland, make sure that the 7th's cool, and then we'll continue then. Let's go ahead and resolve experience points for everybody. So the ochre... I'm going to give... I'm going to give Dormorlum and Benfina inspiration for holding strictly true to your character bonds. And then I'm going to give everybody from a roleplay experience, we're gonna just say per person, it's gonna be additional 50 experience per person for just roleplay. And then if someone wants to type this, say 50 has to be roleplay. And then where's it at here? Get it, Dark Pool, North Barracks, number 2, Ochre Jelly. Sorry guys, I should have this in front of me.
No worries.
It's not in the right place. Okay, there it is. 450 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4. Divided by 4. That is 112.5, so just do 113 experience points per person. Okay, and then so you guys came down, you came through there was a lot of discussions moving that, so not a huge XP one, but again from like a progression standpoint, everything's there. So and you guys have something to look forward to next time. Either a really...
Did Steve and I get any experience for killing those booger monsters?
Yes, that was the ochre jelly. Yeah.
Okay.
So those ones came across. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, and then there was one ghoul that technically Zaran killed, but let's see, that's going to be a total of 200 divided by 4. 50 experience points per person.
Well done, people.
All right. Well, good job, everyone.
I haven't laughed that hard in a while.
Yeah, it was quite entertaining. So good job, everybody. No one feel abashed or anything. I think everyone did a really great job of roleplay and having fun. So we'll catch you guys next time. Those of you on the stream, don't forget we are still doing Extra Life 2018. We've already got our first donation, so we'll be doing that basically year round. Those of you who have subscribed, we have subscribers on Twitch, thank you. That'll goes for equipment for the stream to make it better, so, and giveaways and all that kind of fun stuff. So, but thanks. I'm gonna shut the stream down, and then I can help you out.